morning, everyone. Welcome to Marathon County Public Library Virtual Storytime. My name is Miss Laura. I have Mr. Bear here to help me today too. We are going to read some stories and sing some songs and have some fun. So first we're going to sing our welcome song. And we're going to do it with American Sign Language. We say hello, and then take your pointer fingers and put one on top of the other, and then flip it over. That's friends. All right, so we'll start out. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. It's time to say hello. Hello, and welcome. So, all our stories today have to do with kindness, ways of being kind. I feel like there's always room for more kindness out in the world, and these stories give us some ideas of how to do that. This first story is called Do Unto Otters. There's bunnies in the story, and there are otters in the story. So, all sorts of interesting animals. And of course, I love bunnies. We start out with a picture. We see Mr. Rabbit going doo-dee-doo, and he's hopping along in the forest. Doo-dee-doo. And then he suddenly stops. And here's some otters. They say, "Hello, Mr. Rabbit. We're your new neighbors, the otters." Mr. Rabbit says, "Otters? Otters? My new neighbors are otters. I don't know anything about otters. What if we don't get along?" And he's thinking, "Pesky otters." And the otters are thinking, "Lousy rabbit." Here comes Mr. Owl. He says, "Mr. Rabbit, I know an old saying. Do unto otters as you would have otters do unto you." Mr. Rabbit says, "What does that mean?" "It simply means treat otters the same way you'd like otters to treat you." Treat otters the same way I'd like otters to treat me? How would I like otters to treat me? How would I like otters to treat me? Well, I'd like otters to be friendly, a cheerful hello, a nice smile, and good eye contact. Those are all part of being friendly. Friendliness is very important to me, especially after my last neighbor, Mrs. Gurr. There's Mrs. Gurr. She didn't look like she was very friendly. I'd like otters to be polite. They should know when to say please. I can say please in 5 languages. So here we're going to learn how to say please in 5 languages. In Spanish, it's por favor. In French, it's s'il vous plaît. In German, it's bitte. In Japanese, it's kudasai. And then I'm going to throw in one from American Sign Language. Please is like this. You take your hand on your chest and do a little circle. That's please in American Sign Language. They should know when to say thank you. I can say thank you in 5 languages. So let's learn how to say thank you. In Spanish, it's gracias. In French, it's merci. In German, it's Dankeschön. In Japanese, it's arigato. And in American Sign Language, take your hand in front of your mouth and you put it forward like this. It's thank you. And they should know when to say excuse me. There's all sorts of times when you should say excuse me. I can say excuse me in 5 languages. In Spanish, it's dispenseme. In French, it's pardonnez-moi. In German, this one's a hard one for me, it's entschuldigen Sie. In Japanese, it's sumimasen. And to say excuse me in American Sign Language, you need 2 hands. Take this hand out and the other hand on top and just swipe it across twice. Excuse me. Otters should be honest. That means they should keep their promises. This otter says, "My word is as good as gold," and they should never lie, and they should never cheat. I'd like otters to be considerate. You know, it's always good to have a considerate neighbor. And ways to be considerate are being a good listener, being patient, respecting the elderly, being on time, all sorts of ways to be a good neighbor. It wouldn't hurt otters to be kind. Everyone appreciates a kind act no matter how bad it smells. This otter is bringing stinky fish to Mr. Rabbit. He means well, but it's kind of stinky. Oh, and what's that word? Cooperate. Otters should learn to cooperate. That means to work well together. And here's some otters cooperating by helping carry this log. I see otters like to play. I hope they know how to play fair. They're playing, sliding down this hill into the water. Playing fair is being a good sport, playing by the rules, including everyone, and taking turns. I'd like it if we could share things. Our favorite books. And looks like Mr. Otter here, his favorite book is Harry Otter. And Mr. Rabbit, his favorite book is Goldilocks and the Three Hares. Our favorite activities we could share. Our favorite treats. And here's Mr. Rabbit's favorite treat. Looks like it's carrot pizza. And the otter's favorite treat looks like it's a sundae made out of fish. And they said, maybe not the treats. I hope otters won't tease me about my doody-doo song, or my extra large swim fins, or my bad hair day. I hope otters won't tease anyone about anything. Now otters are saying, teasing is mean, it's the worst. It's worse than having a clam snap shut on your nose. Poor otter. I think otters should apologize when they do something wrong. And this otter says, I'm sorry I used your ear as a tissue. And I hope they can be forgiving when I do something wrong. And Mr. Rabbit says, I'm sorry I called you Snotter. And the otter says, oh, you. So there, that's how I'd like otters to treat me. Mr. Owl says, you see, Mr. Rabbit, I told you it was simple. Right, just doody-doo unto otters, as you would have otters doody-doo unto you. And look, they're all getting along well. The end. All right, we learned a lot of things in that story. How to be kind, how to treat each other, how to say a variety of things in different languages. I think it's time for a song. Mr. Bear is gonna help me with this one. It's our Hands Up High song. So you're gonna start out, put your hands up high, and then put your hands down low, put your hands in the middle, and wave them just so. Put your elbows in the front, and your elbows in the back. Put your elbows to the side, and quack, quack, quack. Okay, are we ready? Put your hands up high, put your hands down low. Put your hands in the middle and wave them just so. Put your elbows in the front, put your elbows in the back. Put your elbows to the side and quack, quack, quack. Mr. Bear became a duck. I hope you all did at home too. Mr. Bear will sit there again so he can listen to our next story. Our next story is called Last Stop on Market Street. And this is about a family going on a bus trip and doing some things that show some kindness. Let's see what happens in Last Stop on Market Street. CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under his Nana's umbrella, saying, how come we gotta wait for the bus in all this wet? Trees get thirsty too, his Nana told him. Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw? CJ looked for a long time, but never saw a straw. From the bus stop, he watched water pool on flower petals. He watched rain patter against the windshield of a nearby car. His friend Colby climbed in, and CJ gave CJ a wave and drove off with his dad. Nana, how come we don't got a car? Boy, what do we need a car for? We've got a bus that breathes fire and old Mr. Dennis who always has a trick for you. There's old Mr. Dennis driving the bus. The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged and the doors swung open. What's that I see? Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear and placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up in front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. An old woman with curlers had butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a good afternoon. She made sure CJ did the same. The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. How come we always gotta go here after church, CJ said. Miguel and Colby never have to go anywhere. I feel sorry for those boys, she told him. They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or the Sunglass Man, and I hear Trixie got herself a brand new hat. CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself. He watched cars zip by on either side and watched a group of boys hop curbs on bikes. A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. How come that man can't see? Boy, what do you know about seeing, Nana told him. Some people watch the world with their ears. That's a fact, their noses too, the man said, sniffing at the air. That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am. Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two older boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood in back. Sure wish I had one of those, he said. Nana sat down her knitting. What for? You got the real live thing sitting across from you. Why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song? So CJ wanted some headphones, but the man across the way has a guitar. CJ didn't have to ask. The guitar player was already plucking strings and beginning to sing. To feel the magic of music, the blind man whispered, I like to close my eyes. Nana closed hers too. So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves, saw a family of hawks slicing through the sky, saw the old woman's butterflies dancing free in the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full, and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. The song ended, and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm. CJ dropped it in the man's hat. There he is. Last stop on Market Street, Mr. Dennis called. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. Crumbling sidewalks and broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows and boarded-up stores. He reached for his Nana's hand. How come it's always so dirty over here? She smiled and pointed to the sky. Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what's beautiful. Looking up at the beautiful sky. CJ saw, there it is, the perfect rainbow arcing over their soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful where he never even thought to look. He looked all around them again, at the bus rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamps still lit up bright, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. When he spotted their familiar faces in the window, he said, I'm glad we came. He thought his Nana might laugh her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, me too, CJ. Now come on. And there they go. They're going back to the bus. So when they went inside, they were helping. You'll see right there, they're helping at the soup kitchen, helping serve food to people. And then at the end, they're getting ready to get back on the bus to go home. The end. Okay. I think we should do one more song, and I'm going to have Mr. Bear help me with it. We're going to go on a little trip to the moon. You're going to rub your hands together to get your rocket ships ready, okay? So, Mr. Bear is going to rub his paws together and go zoom, zoom, zoom. We're going to the moon. Zoom, zoom, zoom. We'll be there really soon in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Good. Okay, let's go to the moon one more time. Get your rocket engines ready. Rub your hands together. Zoom, zoom, zoom. We're going to the moon. Zoom, zoom, zoom. We'll be there really soon in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Mr. Bear loves going to the moon. Don't you, Mr. Bear? He says yes. Okay, I have one more story for us today. And this one is called The Kindness Quilt. It's got bunnies in it. And it's got some ideas or something that you could do at home if you want. The Kindness Quilt. One Friday at Sharing Circle, Minna helped Mrs. Bloom hold up a large green book. "I love stories," Minna said. "I do too," said Mrs. Bloom. "I'm going to read an Aesop fable." Mrs. Bloom began reading. The Lion and the Mouse. Long ago, a tiny mouse was scampering through the jungle. By and by, he came upon a great lion snoozing in the tall grass. The mouse was feeling playful, so he plucked a blade of grass and tickled the lion's nose. "Roar!" roared the lion, grabbing the little mouse in his huge padded paw. "What is this, an afternoon snack?" "Please, please, please, don't eat me," begged the mouse. "Someday I will do something nice to help you." "Ha ha ha," laughed the lion. "You help me?" But he let the mouse go and fell back to sleep. A few weeks later, the mouse was scurrying home when he heard a terrible roar. There was his friend, trapped in a net. The little mouse gnawed on the ropes with his sharp teeth and set the mighty lion free. When the story ended, Minna sat down. Then Mrs. Bloom asked, "What's the moral of this fable?" I know, said Minna. "It's about kindness. The lion let the mouse go, and later the mouse helped the lion. I think they both felt happy about being kind." Tyrone said, "It shows you can be kind whether you're little or big." Lindsay said, "We should try to do something kind every day." Dave said, "I'm kind to Noodles." "Yes," said Mrs. Bloom, "kindness is a good thing for all of us to practice, no matter how big or small we are. I know that we are all very kind, so let's celebrate kindness with a do and draw and share kindness project." That night, Minna told Mom, Dad, and Pip, "Mrs. Bloom wants us to do something kind, then make a picture about it and take the picture into school to share. It's kind of a kindness project." "That's a wonderful idea," said Mom. "But," said Minna, "I'm not sure what to do." "We can help you with these ideas," said Dad. Early Saturday morning, before Mom and Dad got up, Minna read to Pip. "Reading me books is a good idea for your kindness project, Minna," said Pip. Minna nodded, but she said, "I'm still thinking." Before lunch, Minna went with Mom to Community Cleanup Day. "Picking up litter in the park is being kind to our earth," said Mom. "That could be an idea for your kindness picture." Minna nodded, but she said, "I'm still thinking." Later in the afternoon, Minna and Dad cooked creamy carrot soup for supper. Minna took a big jar to their neighbors. After supper, Minna got pencil and paper. "Kindness, kindness," she whispered to herself. "There are lots of kinds of kindness." Dad brought Minna a snack. "Yum," said Minna. "Sharing the soup with Mr. and Mrs. Checker could be an idea for your kindness project," said Dad. Minna nodded, but she said, "I'm still thinking." "You can use my new markers, Minna," said Pip. "Thanks." Minna started writing and drawing. Later, Mom tiptoed in. She brought Minna scissors and more paper. Minna smiled. "Thanks, Mom." Then Minna started cutting. On Saturday afternoon, Minna looked at what she had written and drawn and cut out. She drew a picture of picking up trash, sharing soup, her family helping her, reading books, and then there's a heart that says, "Kindness is." Suddenly, Minna knew what she wanted to do. She found her glue stick and got to work. On Monday, Minna took her artwork to school. She listened as Carrie, Tyrone, Kyle, and Lindsay shared pictures of their acts of kindness. Yeah, all different things that they did that were kind. When it was Minna's turn, she held up her artwork. "Ooh," said the class, "it looks like a beautiful quilt," said Lindsay. "Wow," said Tyrone. "If you want to, you can make yours look like a quilt too," said Minna. "Great," said Mrs. Bloom. "Let's get out our art materials. Kyle, Carrie, Tyrone, Lindsay, since you shared your kindness art today, you can work on your quilt squares. Minna can help." They cut and glued. Then they taped their acts of kindness together. Mrs. Bloom hung the paper quilt on the small bulletin board. Look at that. Looks like the beginning of a quilt blanket. As the days passed, more acts of kindness happened. Maya sent a card. Esteban helped his neighbor. Aman held a door open. Dave took care of Noodles. Noodles is their goldfish. And the kindness quilt grew until it overflowed the small bulletin board. Mrs. Bloom and the children had to move it to the big bulletin board. Look at that. All sorts of acts of kindness. As more days passed, more and more acts of kindness happened. Jadalyn was kind to Keisha. Keisha was kind to Zach. Zach was kind to AJ. AJ was kind to Minna. When the kindness quilt overflowed the big bulletin board, Mr. Cooper helped them hang the quilt on the long wall in the hall. Look at all that. Big, beautiful quilt of kindness. Soon other classes joined in. Now they're adding to the quilt. And the kindness kept growing and growing and growing. At the very end, you see the big quilt they put up on the wall. That's something that you could do at home too. Draw pictures of the kind things that you do and put them on paper and add a quilt of your own. So, I hope that you've got some ideas of things you can do for kindness with your friends and family and neighbors. We should probably sing the alphabet song before we go, so get ready. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.